How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. It's been a couple weeks since I've been on the good old YouTubes, had a little YouTube video. So today, I wanted to talk about going back to basics. Now, why do I want to talk about going back to basics, Brandon? You know, why? We've already been over the basics, etc. Well, here's the thing. I've been testing a lot for the upcoming VDC season. Spoiler alert, I'm not driving a Nissan Z. I'm driving something different. More of an explanation on that on Thursday's video. But with that, always testing a new car, you're trying to make it as good as possible. And when doing so, sometimes your driving isn't the best. Last night, I was driving on Irwindale with the car that I am testing, and I was getting some complaints of me not holding the right line. And going back and look at the replay, it wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. But some runs were pretty bad in terms of doing things not only on Irwindale, but Bigger Nicky as well. And it's a reminder to myself that sometimes I just have to go back to basics. And this is for when I'm driving badly or when I'm just driving in a not so, fun, stylish way. So we're going to go back and talk about the basics. So for me, the basics include donuts, of course. Now, we start to do the donuts. As you can see, I'm trying to be as smooth as possible. I'm trying to have as little steering correction as possible. Ideally, I want to hold the wheel still in one position and just do a donut that way, but very rarely have I been able to do that. That usually involves a lot of left foot brake. We're going to try to just do a donut as smooth as possible. I'm about to get motion sick. Hold on. Just kidding. So let's bring out the pedal app to show some donuts. And of course, you guys start with those first when you're going back to the basics. The fundamentals of drifting come from donuts. Now, you have to understand that drifting goes in different directions. It's not one. But being able to hold a donut in one direction and to be as smooth as possible, that's a goal and a basic that you have to master. Because if you can't go in one direction and be super smooth, then how are you supposed to go in 2, 3, 4, 5 different directions throughout a whole course? As you can see, I'm trying to do a donut and use the least amount of correction as possible, not only with my feet, but more so with my hand. As you can see, I'm not going like this, trying to shovel my way around in the donut fashion, right? Just using the pedals. I'm using the gas, the brake, and the clutch to modulate around to have a perfect donut. Once I go in one direction, of course you have to go the opposite direction. Now this is going to be a lot more difficult, because ideally, if I had VR or if it was real life, I would be looking into the donut. I wouldn't be looking outside, but because we're using neck effects, we have to look outside. So it's a bit more difficult than, with VR. Okay, that's enough of that. Going back to the basics, just relearning how to drift. Think about the first time you've ever drifted. Because I've realized over the past couple weeks that fundamentals, the rudiments of drifting are going to be the most important bit. Because if you can't do the basics correctly, how are you going to be able to put 99-point runs down, right? The next thing I like to do is do tight figure eights. And I'm on Englishtown Gambler. This is my favorite track to do this on because there is a pretty tight figure eight box that's usually made for doing donuts and warming up your tires. But when I'm doing figure eights, again, I'm thinking about being as smooth as possible, not having a ton of steering correction, just allowing the wheel to flow through your hands, make corrections with feet. These cars are naturally twitchy. The car I'm driving is the Boundless Racing C6 Corvette. And what this is it's a street car. It's essentially a hybrid of two different Assetto Corsa cars. DWG tires alongside VDC physics. And it makes for a pretty good experience. I've been told by actual real-life C6 drivers that this is the most accurate C6 in the game they've driven in terms of how the car reacts, how it carries speed, etc. So pretty proud of that. Pretty happy because that was our whole goal with these cars. As you can see, we're doing tight donuts, and what I'm thinking about, again, is when I transition, I'm trying to catch the car when I match angle. So, as you can see, I'm getting to about 45 degrees, let it catch, right? Let me try to explain that again, right? So, let go of the car, catch it, right? I'm catching it with the clutch as well as just being back on throttle. So let go of clutch, back on throttle. How can I be as smooth as possible with not only my steering input but also my throttle input? Because you don't want to be choppy with the throttle like this, right? Although this is an appropriate way to drive, ideally you want to be squeezing the throttle on and off in order to be as smooth as possible. So let go, catch, back on throttle. Try again. Go. Catch. Back on throttle. Now, let me be over dramatic with this, right? Let go of it. Catch. Back on throttle. Right? Let go of it. Catch. Back on throttle. Now, with donuts and transitioning, I want to bring up a good point that I have. I do not like it completely let go of the wheel like this, right? It lets the car go into free form. If your car is set up, super well, you're just hurting yourself. So, I'm thinking here, let my hands glide through the wheel, right? Like I'm lightly touching, right? The pressure in the fulcrum of my hands, slightly applying pressure to the steering wheel, allowing it to flow through my hands. And when I catch it, I put a little more grip onto it. Not a lot. Maybe a pound more of pressure. And I let go. We were squeezing an egg, essentially. Not, oh god. Like you're squeezing an egg. So, we come out of the tight donuts, and let's do some wider donuts, right? Here is where drifting will come into play. Right? Be as smooth as possible. Allowing the car to do what it's got to do. And we'll shift up to second. Maybe not. Oh god. Car only makes 300 horsepower, so again, not a ton of power. But as you can see, I'm trying to put as little steering correction as possible. Not doing the best of jobs, but using the throttle to my advantage here. Squeezing the throttle, using the clutch, using my 3 pedals on my feet instead of the steering to make a lot of corrections. Trying to be as smooth as possible with the steering. A lot of people think of like this, and they're trying to drive on top of the car, right? When you drive on top of the car, it makes for this very wobbly, very gross-looking drive. Okay, you don't need to do this. You don't need to be overly aggressive. You need to be calm, relaxed when you drive. Have you ever watched Chelsea Denofa drive? Chelsea Denofa is one of, if not the best drifters from the United States, right? How he drives, he's very smooth when he transitions. He's not hucking the wheel and doing anything crazy. He's letting the car do most of the work, and that's what I'm trying to do here. Let the car do the driving, right? I'm not fighting against it. If anything, I'm slightly behind the car. More so, I'm directly on top of it, rather driving in front of it, meaning I'm not going like this, being overly aggressive, right? You gotta be relaxed, because when you're drifting, it's not like rally, F1 racing, or GT3 racing, where you have to have fast correction in order not to spin out. Here, you want to prolong the slides. You want the least amount of corrections. You want to be smooth. You want to be relaxed with your driving, which is what I'm doing right now. That's the big thing with any sort of figure eight, especially transitions. You just gotta let the car do its thing. You gotta let it flow through your hands, as I am doing right now. And as you can see, I feel like my driving's gotten a lot better over the past 10 minutes. Because, again, I'm rediscovering the fundamentals, understanding, verbalizing, putting it into words. What am I doing? How can I replicate this time and time again? Cars making 1,100 horsepower instead of 350. Alright, I think we're good on the donut side of things. Let's go back to pits, get a new set of tires. And now let's go drive the actual track. And again, I like to revisit my fundamentals on Englishtown because A, it has pole for donuts, B, parking lot for big figure eights, and C, it has a figure eight burnout box for, tight figure eights. And the track itself is a figure eight, a difficult figure eight, but once again, a figure eight. Second, third, clutch kick, handbrake, back on throttle as soon as possible, and again, being as smooth as possible, letting the car drive itself through the transition. Do a bit of left foot brake to get outside into the second outside zone. Again, not a lot of steering, I'll put a little bit of steering inwards towards the inner clip. Nice, smooth transition. Little hesitation going into it. Compared to yesterday how I was driving, which was quite twitchy and overall not great, this is a big improvement. And again, because I'm learning and relearning, readjusting to the fundamentals, when I move to my higher horsepower cars, guess what? It's going to be a lot easier to replicate. I already have this fresh in my mind and the understanding. Transition nice and smooth. Oh yeah, dude. This thing is super easy to drive right now. Little inside, get inside. Yeah. Transition, nice and outside. A little bit of left foot brake. Readjust myself. We'll do We'll do one more run, just to seal the deal before we run out of gas, more specifically tire. So again, line up, take a deep breath, understand what the job is, try to be as smooth and precise as possible. Upshift again, clutch kick, handbrake, get on throttle as soon as possible. Transition, let the car transition itself. Yes. A little bit of steering correction, didn't want that. A little bit of steering correction right now, holding it as still as possible. Turn inside to get inside, and then transition to the final corner. A little bit of hesitation, make sure we're not riding too wide. A pretty good run to end it off. So, I made this video just as a reminder to everyone, whether you're a pro, whether you're new to this sort of thing, whatever you're doing in life when it comes to drifting, right? Could be week 2, could be year 20. Sometimes we have to revisit the fundamentals just to recalibrate ourselves, understand what we're doing, what's the job at hand, how we're going to drive through the course, right? So, with that said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and maybe save it to your favorites so you can go back to it later to remind yourself, hey, you're having a bad day, sometimes you just got to go back to the fundamentals. But with that, hope you enjoyed, hope you found it valuable, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.